So the first poem I'm going to read out of this, I'm actually going to read for, where is he? John, because he was asking me about my name. He's like, what do you want to go by? So this poem kind of answers that. And it was written a few years ago, so a lot of it, some of it no longer applies. Not much of it, but some of it, some key lines. Anyway, it's called My Two Names. I've got a confusing name, George Murray Thomas. It could be 3 first names or 3 last names. It's confused people all my life, especially as my parents decided to call me Murray, which is not only the middle name, but the closest to a last name out of the 3. So every year of grade school, I had to correct my teachers that I was Murray Thomas, not Tom Murray. But now my name has reached a new level of confusion. It almost seems I am 2 different people, G. Murray Thomas and George M. Thomas. Murray and George. G. Murray Thomas is a perfect name for a byline or a book spine. Murray is a poet. George M. Thomas is a name designed by a Blue Cross computer which could not handle a full middle name. George is a patient. Murray spends his names hooked up to a microphone at poetry readings. George spends his evenings hooked up to a dialysis machine. Murray puts his name on sign-up sheets at open mics and waits for it to be called. George puts his name on sign-up sheets in doctor's offices and waits for it to be called. Murray sends out poetry to literary magazines in hopes to be accepted, not rejected. George sends out forms to insurance companies and hopes to be accepted, not rejected. Murray is busy keeping track of deadlines, writing projects, publishing possibilities, and that new idea for a poem. George is busy keeping track of prescription renewals, doctor's appointments, doctor's bills, and whatever it is his doctor told him yesterday. Murray works in a bookstore, a perfect poet occupation, but only part-time because George is on disability. Which leaves Murray plenty of time to write, but sometimes George just doesn't feel good enough. Murray has inspiration for a poem, George is tired. Murray is really inspired, George really just wants to lie down. Murray explores the possibilities of life, George discovers its limitations. Murray wants to taste everything, George has to watch his diet. Murray believes everything is possible, George is painfully aware of just how little actually is. Murray still thinks he's a teenager. George is starting to feel pretty darn old. Murray loves his life, George ponders death. But George does give Murray plenty to write about, and every time George ponders death, Murray loves his life a little more. Every time George feels life's limits, Murray looks for new possibilities. Every time George feels tired, Murray is more determined to write that next poem. Murray doesn't let George get too discouraged. George keeps Murray realistic. Both are quite confused, but about very different things. And they're both waiting. Murray for his big book contract, George for his kidney transplant. They both believe that then everything will change. So I did get the kidney transplant, and then this next poem is about that. Couple of important things. I don't know, I'm here in Colorado, so probably some of you don't know this, but LAX is Los Angeles Airport. It's yes, it is. It's a terrible place. I avoided all possibilities. But that's what no one calls it Los Angeles Airport out. Even the freeway signs say LAX, next exit. The other thing about this is the first line is a word-for-word quote. Your kidney just arrived at LAX. The doctor told me as I lay in pre-op prep. I envisioned a special chartered flight, an entire airplane filled with organs. Hearts with little heart-shaped carry-ons. They always watch the in-flight movie and cry all the way through. The livers splurging on one last drink. They don't think they'll be allowed where they're going. The lungs eye the spot where the oxygen masks drop. Corneas stare out at the passing countryside. They always get a window seat. And the gallbladder always gets in line before his seat is called. And the spleens are always complaining about security, about the length of the flight, about the lack of leg room, even though they have no legs. And there's my kidney, probably reading a book to pass the time, something classic, As I Lay Dying, or Great Expectations, or The Stranger. All of them wondering about the journey ahead, about their new home, about their new life. Okay, this is my older book. I am from Southern California, hence the shirt. If it were just a little bit warmer, I'd have the flip-flops on too, but there's a limit to how far I'll get here. This poem is very much Southern California. It's another smoggy sunset beyond Coast Highway, and God, is it beautiful! The pink stains the hills, landscape developments far lovelier than naturally barren slopes. Who wants to live in a desert anyway? The orange ocean shimmers like fast food neon. The traffic is a symphony, piccolo pickups, soulful CRXs, country western convertibles, rap music blasts from a BMW, and the white girls boogie in their bikinis. God, I'm hungry. I want to eat all that fast food, the fast cars, the fast girls. I want to eat the neon. But it's Chinese neon, and I'm always hungry for more. More smog, more traffic, more developments, more white girls in skimpier bikinis. Once you're hooked, you can never get enough. And this next one did take place in Southern California, but it could probably take place anywhere. And it's called Giving It Back. So, I'm waiting tables in this overpriced restaurant, and when I tell this overpriced lady that ahi is Hawaiian tuna, she wants to know if they killed any dolphins to get it. I say, no, but they sure killed a lot of tunas. She says we should give the oceans back to the dolphins, who owned it long before we ever learned to sail or surf, and probably have a more democratic government and a more compassionate economic system than we will ever dream up. And I say, yeah, you're right. And we should give San Juan Capistrano back to the swallows. And we should give the chunk of land this restaurant sits on back to the rodents, who act like we never took it from them in the first place. The wildlife think our restaurant is a soup kitchen for destitute opossums. They show up late every night for outdoor dining, never make reservations, and often run out on their bill. But they do tip big. Ooh, she says, I hate opossums. Now there's one creature that should not be allowed to exist. Scaly-tailed, greasy-haired, semi-mammal mutations. If opossums had governmental institutions, they'd certainly be oppressive fascists. And I tell you, if they had to kill possums to get tuna, I'd eat nothing but tuna for a year. So I ask her if she wants the ahi. She says, no, bring me a steak. Extra well done. No blood. I don't want anything to remind me it was ever alive. Okay, I'm just going to do one more. It's the title poem of this book, Cows on the Freeway. We've seen a lot of cows on this trip.
We even saw cows on the road.
Yes, we did see cows right dead ahead of us in the road. But the relationship with roads and cows out here is a little different in Southern California. When you get cows on the road in Southern California, it's a very different thing. So this is called Cows on the Freeway. Cows spilled all over the freeway by another amusing anecdote on the traffic report. Cows standing, dazed, the carcasses of their traveling companions scattered around them, hinting at something they can't understand, but obviously important, while more things they can't understand zip by, too fast to catch, or even focus on. But again, obviously important. And these cows know there is something they must do right now. But they sure as hell don't know what it could be. I can't tell you how often I feel like a cow on a freeway.